Hello, we're here at Vermont Center for Photography, where the show Seeing the River is opening tonight in Brattleboro. In the show are wonderful, wonderful photographs by Bob George, who I think most people in Brattleboro have seen walking around the streets of Brattleboro with his camera. And the history of this show is that Andy Wasserman and Elizabeth Billings and myself had done a public art project in Brattleboro last year. This kinetic sculpture river wall. Some photography and benches down by the river, all with the purpose of establishing a greater connection between the town of Brattleboro and the Brattleboro River, which runs along its spine and yet which we don't have much contact with. So we were pretty far through our project and about to install it. And Bob has been a friend for many, many years and a real inspiration for me. He's a really just incredible chronicler of Brattleboro. Anyway, I don't even actually know how it came to our attention that he had been photographing the river for the past 25 years and had this incredible, we're talking over 100 images taken by the Connecticut River on the island in the middle of the river between Vermont and New Hampshire. And so Andy and Elizabeth and I approached Bob and asked if he would be willing to have us curate an exhibition of his photographs along with images of the river from the Brattleboro Historical Society, and something that we were going to create, which we didn't know what it was. So, Bob, how has this process been?
I was very flattered that they liked the photographs that I had put aside for 15 years. I think they were in a box on a shelf, and they were silver prints, which are very rare now, and everyone liked them, so I was quite flattered that they would even want to exhibit anything like that. It was a period in my life when I just enjoyed going down there and was really enhanced by all the wild growth along the river, which, wild growth takes over everything if you read it. There were times when there was no wild growth along the river. I saw photographs of people standing there where there are no trees, where they're all trees and bushes now. So anyway, it was a pleasure for me to exhibit it.
And I'll just acknowledge that Elizabeth Billings, who could not be here tonight, and Evie Lovett and I have had maybe a year or two now of collaboration, and when we meet, our meeting of minds has just made our thinking be ever more expansive, and the dialogue of the river and the town of Brattleboro has been part of this conversation consistently since the beginning, and having Bob George join our collaboration and enter into our conversation has just expanded our view of the river that much more. And so we just feel like this has just been such a really fun and interesting and introspective time to bring our work to this community. It's just been a pleasure to work with Bob too. Unearth, really, it feels like we're unearthing and presenting his work at large, which was really in truth due to Evie Lovett and her long connection with George.
And I think we should also give a shout out to the Vermont Center for Photography, which really is the Vermont Center for Photography. There's no other sort of gallery like it that brings photography from all over the world to us in southern Vermont, and also allows Vermont artists to do some pretty kind of crazy things. I mean, for example, the contribution that Andy and Elizabeth and I ultimately made to this exhibition was that we took photographs of the river and essentially translated the patterns of water in these photographs onto large-scale pieces of glass by means of sandblasting them. So they're photographs, but they're probably not photographs that have ever been seen in the Vermont Center for Photography before.
So the exhibit will be on for about a month. Please see it. Please come.
Yeah.
Enjoy seeing the minute and extraordinary detail of Bob George's silver prints. They're really worth the effort to come down here and see.
Thank you. So last year in July, for Gallery Walk in July, we installed Elizabeth Billings, Andy Wasserman, and myself, Evie Lovett. We installed 5 pieces of the From the River to the River project, and behind us is what we called River Wall. It's a 32-foot by 32-foot sculpture. It was always intended to be temporary. It's made of sequins, it's made of chicken wire and wood, and it's slated to come down probably in October of 2017. And we've recently begun thinking, and in fact we've applied for a grant for initial planning to try to raise funds to make a more permanent installation in this site made of more durable material. We've gotten feedback that that people really just, they like it, they feel like it brings a sense of sort of fun and beauty to, you know, an area that I don't know, maybe people felt like it needed a little joy in it. And so we just would love to ask anyone who has ideas of grants, of possible funding sources, reach out to evielovett@gmail.com or through the Vermont Center for Photography. They can get messages to us. We'd like to make a permanent installation so we don't have to say goodbye to all that fun. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Bob George, and I live here at on Birch Street in the SD Oregon complex, where I have my studio. And I've been a photographer since about 1961. When my mother gave me my first camera, I was going to Bangladesh as a Peace Corps volunteer, and she said, "You have to take pictures." I hadn't taken pictures before that. So she gave me an Argus C3 camera, 35 millimeter, and while I was there I took pictures of the workers that I worked with, and when I came back home I worked at SIT for a while. I took pictures for them, and then my wife started a publication about bicycle racing, and I photographed bicycle races for 10 years. And she had the newspaper for 17 years, however. And in 1983, I started photographing Brattleboro, and I photographed things that interested me. Buildings, cars, streets, trees, anything. And I wanted to learn how to become a better black and white photographer because I found it interesting. And so I have a huge collection of black and white photographs of Brattleboro. In 1991, I had an exhibit at the museum, and I had 1,200 5x7 black and white prints on one wall. And since then, I've taken a lot more photos of Brattleboro and continue to do so. I also have a little digital camera now, which I use mostly for family photographs and little records of colorful things around town. And I can put them on my iPad and send them to people, and they're happy. Most of my black and white work doesn't get seen, but recently I had a little exhibit at Vermont Center for Photography on growth along the river and on the island. And I just found that I was very attracted to growing things, to trees, to bushes, to anything that had floral designs to it. And so when Evie Lovett and Andrea Wasserman and Elizabeth Billings did their big project on the river, they saw my photographs and wanted to include them in a bit of Brattleboro history about the river also. So that was the last thing I did. And so I continue to take pictures around town. I enjoy meeting people, and I have a collection of photographs of business owners from some years past. But now with digital, everything is changing. The technology is superior in many ways to the old processes, and it becomes very easy. Everyone has their cell phone camera, and they can all learn how to take good pictures. This is a photograph of sumac along the railroad tracks, and it's so common looking and everything, but my feeling is that black and white transforms it into something else. And I just love the shape of sumac trees. This is another sumac trees. It is along the river, and these are young sumac trees, and I just found them visually interesting. This is a tree on the island that has fallen down, and it's an example of what happens in nature. Things fall down, they get overgrown. I just liked it. This is a tree in town next to the parking garage, which is dying now. And I took this in the fall, 2010. So I have a lot of photos of trees around town also. Here's a few photos from Bangladesh. This one I took 1962 of a Hindu carpenter. He's drilling the frame of a window for the house that I was living in. And he's a minority population in Bangladesh because it's over 90% Islamic. Here's another photo of some electrical workers up on a pole doing some repairs. You notice they're in their bare feet, and that's the ladder's made out of bamboo, which is used for a lot of construction and staging work on construction projects in Bangladesh. This is monsoon season near where I live, and they have water taxis going from from one highland point to another, and some of the people are washing their baby taxis out there in the river.